these skills will actually give you an unfair advantage over others. So basically, the first skill would be Google. Not Google in the sense of google.com, but I'm talking about the search engine. Not a lot of people know that you can do lots of different stuff with a Google search engine. If you're using it to like search about everyday tasks, like hey, how to walk a dog, how to walk myself, how to run, it won't help you that much. But if you're using it to get like different techniques, if you're using it for research, for analysis, it will help you a lot. It will help you much more than the usual person who knows how to use Google only for basic tasks. If you're thinking on using Google, you gotta learn about dorks. So what are Google dorks? Google dorks are these queries, are these special queries that will help you find whatever you need, and you will filter all the search results with these queries. That's one of the things. The other thing is research. Google has one of the biggest platforms in the world called Google Scholar, where you can find all different research papers, different theses, different analysis, different researches from people all around the world. In fact, I would say it would be my primary source if I'm doing a research paper, or even if I'm doing something that requires like deep learning, let's say, not in the AI sense, but if you want to learn something deeply, you would use Google Scholar. It is one of the best platforms out there. The second thing would be automatizing your processes. Without learning scripting, without knowing a little bit CLI, which these two are both points that I will mention down the line, you will not be able to learn automation. What automation means is that you do everyday tasks. Every one of us has a routine, has a pattern that they work in. So if you're using all these automation things and you automate all the processes, all the routine tasks that you have in your daily life, your whole work-life balance will become much easier. Why do I say that? Let's say if you had a script, if you had a software that you would tell to it each morning at 7:30, made me a coffee. The robot would make you a coffee. Or even if you had another software, then let's say, hey, at 10 o'clock in the morning, read all the emails and write them in a file, the most important ones. That would be a real life-saving task. What I would say about that is that not a lot of people know automation. If you learn automation the right way, if you learn all the scripting that needs to be done with it, I can easily say that 40% of your tasks will become much easier. Why? Because you won't have to keep doing them every day. The robot will do them for you, and you will not have the need to do them manually. It will be done automatically every day of your life, 5 days a week, or even 7 if you work every day. Not just in coding, but on file management, on data processing, data analysis, scripting and automation will be the strongest point you have. How to start? You can learn a little bit of bash scripting. You should learn Python. It's the 10th, 12th, 30th time that I'm mentioning Python, but it's a really good, let's say, programming language, but you can also do scripts with it. You can automatize lots of stuff with Python. Scripting and automation go hand to hand. You got to learn both of them. The second part would be, or the third part right now, would be ChatGPT. So ChatGPT, most of the people will say, oh, it's AI. We see when a text is generated with ChatGPT. We know when someone uses ChatGPT, but it is not the idea to use ChatGPT even that it's old, but in the old-fashioned sense. What I want to say with that is, if you're using ChatGPT to say, hey, generate me a code about this part, and you don't know programming, you will not be able to use it. But if you're going to ChatGPT with like really concise and you really filter the query that you're sending to it, the output, the result that it will give you will be much better. What I want to say with that is, if you know the right questions to ask, you will get the right answer. The more general questions you ask, the more general you will get the answer. But the more precise questions you ask, you will get a really better precise answer. So if you're using ChatGPT to solve problems literally for you, or help you solve the problems, it will be a life-saving tool. Most of the people use it for mundane tasks, like how do I do this, how do I do that, hey, can you look at this for me? But if you're doing it to like actually help you with deep and advanced tasks, ChatGPT is a lifesaver. It will be one of the best tools you will have in your arsenal. Lots of companies have started incorporating this kind of AI like Copilot or even Gemini to their companies, but most of the employees are not using them to their fullest potential. If you unlock all that potential, you will not be able to just handle your job. You can get a second job and handle it with AI. Command line interface. This is almost the last point that I'm going to make today. CLI. So there are three main operating systems in the world. We have Windows, we have Linux, and we have Mac. So on both three of these, you have CLI. We have the GUI version, which is graphical user interface, but we also have the CLI version, which is command line interface. If you've already established the main commands like ls, mkdir, like make directory, list the files, you only know the basics of it. But if you learn like a little bit more on how to stop processes, how to manage directories, how to manage files, folders, how to install, how to uninstall, how to go deep, how to encrypt, how to decode, how to encode, you will be much more advanced than the usual people who do this kind of stuff. Why? Because you will be able to work, to have a really good workflow in different operating systems. That's the first and one of the most important ones. And after that, you could work with software engineering or programming on Linux, but you could also be a system administrator, so a sysadmin. You would be able to like manage the whole system, the whole apparatus. You could manage the packages, create different files, folders, manage files, download, upload, etc., etc. The power of CLI is really underestimated, and not a lot of people know that they should already have learned it on computer science. The last point would be communication skills. I've talked about this before. Communication is one of the key aspects to your everyday life. If you're able to tell someone, let's say your client, or even your partners, your employees, if you're able to communicate all the tasks really clearly, it makes the job much easier. Why I say that? Because most of the time in the beginning, also when I started the company and we were working with clients all around the world, communication streamlining was one of the hardest processes to work with. Why? Because we were in Kosovo, they were in the United States, or one was in Venezuela, one was in Turkey, France, Germany. It doesn't matter. But communication was always key. You probably hear this all the time in these motivational videos. But communication really is the key. If I'm talking to you, if I'm trying to communicate something to you, even though I understand it myself, it doesn't mean that the person on the other end is understanding it. And if you're on these daily stand-up meetings and you're getting tasks from everyone, and someone is trying to communicate a new idea, or someone is trying to communicate something new to add to the system, it doesn't matter that everyone understands it. You gotta be really concise with communication. You gotta find the right words to tell someone something. You gotta find the right words to tell someone what task they should do, and be clear about it. If you're not clear about tasks, there's a really big chance that it won't be finished in the meantime. And you gotta understand that not everyone has their like empathy and emotional intelligence. By getting these two together and combining it with communication, you will be able to run high up to the ranks. You will be able to communicate with your teammates. You will be able to communicate what you did with your managers. If you did a really good job, and if you don't know how to communicate it to the upper ranks, no one will trust that you did anything, or they wouldn't even care. But if you're able to send that message in a different way, a way that resonates with everybody, people will hear you. But the most important thing about all this is that we speak, but mainly we don't listen. If you learn how to be a good listener, if you listen to the speaker, to what they are saying, you're participating in that conversation in another way. When someone that knows something that you don't is talking to you, make sure to put on all ears. You gotta listen to it, you gotta see what he's saying, he or she's saying, and you gotta try to understand the most basic concepts and try to understand what the person across you is trying to tell you. These are the 5 points that really helped me a lot in my tech industry, or like tech journey. I've been doing this for a couple years, almost a decade. So if that helped you, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel, and as always, this is Egji signing off.